Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Superintendent Hallam.
It's Sergeant Parrish, sir. Constable Shelton. Welcome to Hartley, sir.
The Inspector, Inspector Darbley.
I'm afraid we must have got our wires crossed, sir. We weren't expecting you till tomorrow. The Inspector's off today.
No wires crossed, Sergeant. I may have to spend the day at headquarters tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, what?
Nothing, sir.
Do I know you, Sergeant?
No, sir, I don't think we met before.
Are you busy at the moment?
Nothing urgent, sir.
Well, perhaps you'd like to give me a guided tour of the station, then a guided tour of the section.
Well, there's very few in the station, sir. No one in CID.
Oh, that's fine, Sergeant. I just want to put my head round some doors. How long have you been in the force, son?
12 months, sir.
You married?
Yes, sir.
You settled in the job, enjoying it, no complaints?
None, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good lad.
We can start with the CID room, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant.
That's about the last of the old mills left standing round here, sir. Of course, it's not used now. And as you can see, it's right on the edge of the section.
I suppose it's mainly local crime, Sergeant?
Yes, sir. I'm mainly juvenile. Occasionally a bit of a mobility of crime problem off the motorway. Apart from that, most of our lads are local, know the area well, grew up with the villains.
A woman?
Yes, sir?
The Inspector?
Yes, sir.
It's a bit unusual, isn't it, sir? Having a woman in charge of a section.
We thought so, sir, when we first got the news. But she's turned out to be a very good boss.
Really?
Annie. Hello. You look terrific.
You look terrific. I look old.
Oh, get on with you. Give us one of these.
Oh, I'm parched for a cup of tea. That's one. Need to spruce up before the interview. That's two.
Then we'll go home and do all that, and I'll drive you to your interview.
Well, are you sure you've got the time?
Of course, they're off for you.
Oh, thanks.
Train was back on time.
I know.
And it's made it.
Oops.
Yes.
You'd swear I'd never come back. But it's great to be up north again.
We've missed you, you know.
Oh. You're not going to believe what I'm going to ask you.
Go on. It's this red one here.
I was sitting in a restaurant in Montreal when I made the decision to come back. And I promised myself the first thing I'd do when I got back is go to the old Rosario tea rooms.
Of course. It's on the way home, anyhow.
Right.
Put that one in the front.
OK.
Is this bringing back memories?
Yes, you bet it does. I used to walk up here a lot. Aren't we coming up to Moortop Point?
Yeah.
Oh, let's stop and have a look. We've got the time.
Yeah, of course, right.
Oh, lovely.
Actually, this is the boundary of my patch.
Fancy you being top police person of Hartley.
Just fancy.
Is that Harlington Mills chimney I can see over there?
Hmm.
Oh, I thought it would have been closed down by now. It was teetering on bankruptcy when I was working there.
I think the process rag's there now.
My office used to be just above the dye bays. The smell used to get into my clothes, the smell of road tar and dead fish.
You're an incurable romantic, Annie.
You can more or less see the boundaries of the section from over this wall, sir. East Hartley. And then over there to that far hill, beyond the quarries. That's about the lot of our patch, sir.
A high unemployment area?
Not particularly, sir. Hartley's mills were going to the wall in the 30s. We've a long experience of coping with slumps. There's a lot of small factories on the industrial estate. Some on the margin, no doubt, but some thriving.
Hundreds of years of dark, satanic mills, and still man hasn't ruined the purity of the air off the moors. What's your name, Sergeant?
Parrish, sir.
Well, that's your surname.
George, sir.
Are we going to get on well, George?
I hope so, sir.
It's got to be more than hope in our game. Necessity, isn't it? The new superintendent has men he can trust to ably assist him through the changes he's going to make. Do you know that line from Thomas Carlyle? It's about the time when, quote, the ripple in the air rolled down as yet unpolluted by Dyer's chemistry. The English just got fed up with working, didn't they? I put that down totally to bankruptcy of the spirit, to moral decay. However, there are some people left who didn't get fed up with the idea of hard work. And I'm one of them. Obviously, I've driven through Hartley many times. About 15 years ago, a mate of mine, Dave Brewster, came here for a couple of years. Did you know Dave Brewster?
No, sir.
And then, of course, there's Joe Beck. He was in Colliston in my time, about 10 years back. I was glad to see he was on the strength at Hartley. He's a good man.
Yes, sir.
I've never yet found anything perfect in the way the force organises itself. There's always room for improvements. Sometimes little ones, sometimes major ones. I think I'll have to talk today to Mrs. Darbley. Could you give her a phone?
She's off today.
Only if it's convenient, of course.
Look at them. Nothing's changed.
Time and prices stand still at the Rosario tea rooms.
Oh, no, I've got to have the scones and cream and the rubbery raspberry jam.
Not for me. I've got a uniform to get into, and when I don't, it shows. Do you know my last recollection of you? The last time I came over to Hartley to see you?
No.
We had that terrible meal in that terrible Italian restaurant, the Polo Rosso. All the spaghetti stuck together. And you said, I'm getting on that train and I'm heading south and then west, and I shall never head north again for the rest of my life.
Very dramatic.
What made you come back, Annie?
Loneliness. Oh, I'd never in my life experienced real loneliness before. It was all right during the day. They work you very hard in Canada. But I sat in that apartment in Montreal more or less every night for 4 years. And I'd sit there and think to myself, I've got very few friends in this world, and I miss them desperately. And they're 4,000 miles away, and what the hell am I doing here?
What happened to that bloke? Did you not meet someone?
A guy called Bob. He was trying to get his divorce for 2 years. And then he got it. And I think if I'd given him a bit of a push, he'd have married me. But I kept thinking about my marriage, Roger, the divorce, the aftermath. But more than that, I thought to myself, this guy is a Canadian. And what's really important to him, like all the men over there, is making it. Devoting an entire life to building up a successful business. And being a wife to men like that is nothing more than a grinning public relations department they tow around to business dinners.
I can't see any bloke towing you around, love. I see the reverse.
No, I got very low, Jean.
Oh, just imagine me in an American-style tinsel wonderland. I nearly married Bob. Terrifying. I remember reading somewhere once that marriage is like handing in your passport and citizenship.
And you don't think settling down up here again is like burning your passport?
You don't need a passport to identify yourself around here.
I agree. Why don't you come directly back here? Why stop off in London for 6 months?
Well, you know what the work situation's like up here. I thought it best to get some temp work in London while I lined up a job here. Well, what is it? PA to the managing director at Crowfield Electric.
Hartley? Why Hartley in particular?
Oh, I know what you're thinking. My time up here wasn't all that marvellous.
Well, yes.
But it's a good job, Jean. And it's the job I want. But I've got to get through the interview first.
Tea or coffee, ladies?
Tea? 1 tea, 1 coffee and 1 order of scones, cream and raspberry jam, please.
Sorry, dear, scones is off till 3:30 this afternoon.
Yes. I'm back home.
This is it? Not bad. Dump your kids here. Right, and give us your coat.
There we are.
So, Tom did most of it, but I did the best bit. What do you think of this?
Oh, that's very nice. When am I going to see him?
He's had to go up to Newcastle to try and find the father of some kids that are in trouble, but he'll be back very late tonight. If not tomorrow morning. Listen, I must just put these dishes into hot water. They've been hanging about since yesterday. Do you want to unpack? Your room's first on the left.
Oh, thanks, but, before I do that, can I ask you, a favour?
Of course.
Well, it's a big one.
Of course.
About Roger.
Roger?
I want to meet him. I want to talk to him.
Why? I should have thought that's the last person you'd want to see.
Well, I did write to him, but writing's no good. No, I want to see him. And I want to see him before the interview. Well, sooner or later he'd find out I was back. I want to have it out with him face to face. I can't have a repeat of those months before the divorce.
What's the favour?
Well, I'd like to phone him and, if possible, see him here before 2 o'clock. And if I could be in one room and if you could be in here, if necessary, to lend a little moral support.
Of course. Excuse me. I'll take my case upstairs. Yes? Yes, George?
I've been trying to get hold of you. Superintendent Hallam's called in. He'd like to see you.
He's not due till tomorrow. Well, an old friend of mine, oldest and best friend, has just come to town. All right. Tell Superintendent Hallam I'll be in after dinner.
Well, he's in your office now, Mum. I gather he wants to be off by then.
Tell him I'll be half an hour. Well, I'm sorry about this. I have to pop out for an hour and a half. Unexpected guest at the works.
Oh, don't worry about that. It'll take me that long to get myself together.
OK. Oh, before I forget. Door keys.
Oh, thanks, love.
Got your insurance?
George,
Mum, Mr. Hallam's still in your office.
can you organise some teas?
Yes, Mum.
Good morning, sir. Inspector Jean Darbley. Welcome to Hartley.
Thank you, Mrs. Darbley. Yes. Oh, please. All the appearances of a nice little town you've got here, Mrs. Darbley.
Yes, sir.
You took a Monday off.
Yes, it was something special. I arranged it 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I checked that. Mondays, of course, are not the best of times to take off. Mondays are for sorting out the problems and reports of our busiest nights, Fridays and Saturdays, right?
I was on duty both Saturday and Sunday, sir.
I've been taking a little glance through Section CID reports. And I'm afraid, Mrs. Darbley, I have to raise a criticism. A number of significant inquiries seem to have been hanging fire for rather a long time.
That's possible, sir.
Obvious, Mrs. Darbley. I've had a lot of experience of areas like this, and I can tell you a thing or two about them. Because they don't need the intensity of policing that a heavy metropolitan area needs, there's a tendency for the men to sit back and admire the scenery. And sometimes fall asleep on the job.
I don't think that applies to this section, sir.
Then that begs the question, doesn't it? Why are your CID not getting results? Why are your men not on their toes?
Mr. Logan, the DCI and me work closely together, sir. He's not found cause for complaint.
You see, I believe that the main task of an inspector in charge of a section comes down in the end to man management. I'm going to be absolutely blunt with you and tell you I find it extraordinary that a woman should have been appointed to do this job. In letters of one syllable, I don't think a woman should be here, running Hartley section.
It was the Chief Constable's decision, sir. I don't think I wish to comment on that.
Oh, there's no need to. I think there are a lot of good jobs in the force for a woman. I think they should be in headquarters building or somewhere, employed in one of them.
I don't agree, sir.
Well, of course you don't. You've been in this job, what, 9 months? I'm sure if you put in a request that you wanted to move on, it would be sympathetically considered.
I don't wish to move, sir, and I'm surprised to hear you suggest it at our first meeting.
Well, as you know, I'm now in charge of the subdivision, and I want the best policing for it. And that requires leadership. Strong leadership. I'm not going to disappear, Mrs. Darby. I think you should start to give some thought to your future in the force. Meanwhile, of course, you'll have my entire cooperation.
I don't believe it.
Morning, sir.
I remember you, Joe. And I've heard about you over the years.
I hope it was good, sir.
All good, Joe. Hey, do you still have that old, what was it, Velocette motorbike you used to drive?
No, sir. It's now down to rheumatism and a rally upright.
Hey, look, before you go in there, I want to ask your advice on an urgent matter. What's the best pub in Hartley?
Crown and Sceptre, Bridge Street, down the hill first on the left, sir.
We'll have a long talk soon, Joey.
Yes, Mum. Right. Boss wants to see us.
I thought we were having a rest from her today. And I thought Alan was coming tomorrow.
Well, he's an early bird. And he's been looking for worms.
Come in. Sit down. You both met the new subdivisional superintendent?
Yes, Mum.
I served under him in Colliston near on 10 years back.
What's that like?
He's a good man. Bit of a plodder, but fair. Bit religious, Methodist. Professional bachelor. Sort of bloke who's always got his nose to the grindstone whether there's any work to do or not.
I walked in here and he informed me in no uncertain manner that he decided, on somewhat dubious grounds, there's evidence of slackness in the policing of this section. And more to the point, he said he didn't want a woman in my job and I should start to think about my future in the force.
It's out of order saying that to your Mum.
He said it.
He may be the new boss, but you were appointed here. I don't think he's any right to question your appointment. If you take my advice, Mum, if that's what he said, I think you should speak to someone at headquarters about it. What do you say, Joe?
Seems a bit soon to start whining to headquarters. He's hardly got here.
You're right, Joseph.
I'm sorry to hear this, Mum. It's not been my experience that Mr. Allen was like this in the past.
We'll support you, Mum, to the best of our endeavours.
Thank you, George. Joseph. I just thought I'd warn you that we've not got off to a good start.
Looks like we've got a problem.
With a capital P.
10 to 1. On my late.
No, he's due now. I'm just getting tea.
I think I need a brandy, actually.
What's the matter?
I'm not serious. Something come up at work.
Do you need to be there?
No.
Well, here we go. If I could take him in the living room after he's, well, you know, after he said hello.
Yeah, I'll wait in here.
Right. Hello, Roger.
Hello.
Come and meet Jean.
All right. Hello, Jean.
Hello, Roger.
We'll go in the living room then, Jean.
OK, I'll bring some tea in.
Thanks.
Well, how are you?
I'm just fine. Why don't you sit down? All right, Roger. I'll tell you why I wanted to meet.
You look terrific, Annie.
Look, Roger, I'm back. At least I think I'm back to settle down.
What do you mean you think you're back?
That's up to you.
I don't understand.
All right, Roger. From the moment our marriage broke down, for the year it took to get the divorce. Well, you remember what happened.
What in particular?
Mary's flat. You were getting drunk all hours of the day and night, phoning me up, crying down the phone, saying you were sorry.
Don't go into that.
Turning up at my work drunk, writing to me, phoning my friends, crying.
It's all over.
Well, that's just it. It has to be over.
It is.
I'm coming back to Hartley. We're divorced. I have to know that that behaviour will never happen again. I mean, if you think there's even an outside chance of it happening again, I'll stay well away from here and from you for the rest of my life.
That was 4 years ago, Annie. I'll not bother you.
You absolutely promise?
Yes, I'm over it. And you.
Thanks.
He's gone.
Yes, I think it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
It's me again, Mom. The superintendent's back, and he'd like to see you, he says, on an urgent matter.
Hell's teeth. All right, tell him I'll be in. I have to go in again. I'm sorry, I shan't be able to take you to your interview.
Don't worry, I'll phone up for a cab.
Right. Well, good luck with it anyway. So long.
Thanks.
Listen, George, do yourself a favour. Have a little think before you go over the top with the thin red line. Our boss is a lady who's destined to go on up the ladder. We're likely stuck with Alan for years.
And let me tell you that I'm in the force, Joe, to deal with external aggravation, not internal.
If Alan makes the job that bloody impossible, she'll be rushing to leave here in 2 months. I'll give you the same advice as I'm following myself. Get out the boxing ring. Because there's a heavyweight contest starting and it's going to go the full 15 rounds.
Afternoon, Sergeants.
Good afternoon.
Constable Gallagher reporting for duty.
Oh, my God, another new arrival. I don't think I can take the pace.
We were expecting you, Gallagher. Transferred, aren't you?
Yes, sir, from Strathclyde. I've left my motorcycle at the car on the side. Is that OK?
Good. He's a motorcyclist. He won't be with us long.
This is Sergeant Beck, and I'm Sergeant Parrish.
I have to report to an Inspector Darbley.
Yes, well, you'll have to wait on that. The inspector's not here.
But look sharp, lad. The superintendent is.
Maybe I could just brush my hair and things.
Hair?
Yes, Sarge.
His hair's lovely, isn't it, Sergeant Parrish?
Oh, a bit greyer would be more in fashion round here.
What did he say his name was again?
Gallagher, I think.
David Gallagher, Sarge, but friends call me Davy.
Yeah, well, we'll call you Constable Gallagher till we get to know you better, and then God knows what we'll call you.
Well, young Gallagher, you know how to make tea?
Of course I know how to make tea, Sarge.
Well, this is the apparatus. 4 cups, as you can see, kept on constant standby. 6 more in this cupboard. And biscuits, always kept in this tin. A word of advice, lad, for the long years you may not be with us. Quality tea making comes first round here. Law and order, a poor second.
You certainly have a sense of humour, Sarge. Have you had the one about the Irishman accused of rape?
Oh, my God, he's an Irish joke teller.
If he's got an Irish joke, Joe, let's hear it. Come on, out with it.
Well, there's this Irishman, right? He's accused of rape. So the police pick him up, bring him in, and put him in an identification parade. They're all lined up there, and then comes this poor woman. Straight away, the Irishman steps forward, taps on the shoulder, and says, "Yeah, that's her."
I don't get it.
I sort of half get it. It's the woman that raped the Irishman. Is that it, Gallagher?
No, Sarge.
Oh.
I think it's the way he told it. Trick with jokes is you've got to tell them right, or they're just not funny.
Exactly.
Superintendent Hallam in my office, John.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, and the other new posting, Constable Gallagher, he's arrived.
It's all happening today, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, but not necessarily for the best.
I'll say that again. Wanted to see me again, sir?
Yes. Please be seated. There's something I meant to take up with you earlier. 2 days ago, I had a call from an old friend of mine, Superintendent Shipley, over at Padley.
Oh, yes, sir.
He's retiring, Mrs. Darby.
So I believe.
Did you also know he used to live here in Hartley some years back?
No, I didn't know that.
And the publican of the Sportsman's Arms is a very good friend of his.
Oh, yes?
So when he decided to have a retirement party, the publican friend offered his pub. And the publican friend put in for an extension of permitted hours until 1 a.m. for this party.
Yes, I know this, sir.
Oh, next, Mr. Shipley and the publican are staggered to find that you intend to go before the magistrates and object to this extension.
Yes, sir.
Yes, well, I've spoken to Mr. Shipley and told him I'd discuss the matter with you and suggest that you drop the objection.
I'm afraid that's not possible, sir.
Oh, how is that not possible?
I've been instructed to object by the Chief Superintendent.
I get the impression, Mrs. Darby, you're suggesting I don't know a damn thing about force procedures. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a pub in your section, say the Sportsman's Arms. You decide that you don't like, this occasionally happens, you don't like the pub or the publican. An application for an extension of permitted hours is made. You give the nod to the Chief Superintendent and he instructs you to object.
This is not the case, sir.
I haven't finished. I mean, this is a retirement party for a man who's had an entirely distinguished career of over 30 years serving the constabulary. I mean, among the people who are going to be at this party are many senior officers, both past and present. Now, you can get on this phone and you can say to the Chief Superintendent that because of these unique circumstances, you really have been thinking about this, and you think that this is the one occasion when an exception should be made. And I want you to get on this phone and do just that, Mrs. Darby.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't now do that.
Are you deliberately misunderstanding me, Mrs. Darby? I know Chief Superintendent Gates. I know he has a high opinion of you. And if you do get on this phone and tell him you've changed your mind, my bet is he'll change his mind.
I'm sorry for Chief Superintendent Shipley. We've objected to extensions of permitted hours at the Sportsman's Arms before. Residents have made regular complaints about noise and disorderly behaviour around the pub within the last 3 months. I have to go through with this objection unless you talk to the Chief Superintendent and he instructs me otherwise.
I don't wish to do that. It would only advertise the difference in our attitudes. You know, Mrs. Darby, this is about the smallest favour I could have asked of you. I now have to go back to Jack Shipley and tell him that I, the superintendent in charge, was refused cooperation by an inspector under my command. I won't forget this in a hurry.
I got the job.
Marvellous. Terrific.
Looks like a good job. And it's good money. And it was close. They interviewed 5 other girls.
That's wonderful, Annie.
Tonight we're going to go out on the town and celebrate. And I'm paying.
OK. There isn't another vacancy for a managing director's secretary.
Why?
I've just got landed with a new boss and he doesn't like me.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Can't be helped.
Never mind, we'll get especially drunk tonight.
Yes, I'm afraid we will.
Yeah, don't worry, it's not that far. Hey, Arthur. It's Davy, Sarge.
There wasn't mention of this on parade, but there've been a number of burglaries into area recently, and we reckon we've got the villain's description. He's been seen.
He's big. Big chap.
6'6" plus.
Yeah?
And he's a bit of a karate expert.
Uh-huh.
And he's left-handed. So when he goes for the karate chop, you expect the blow to come from the left, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And he always carries a transistor radio with him on the job, tuned into Radio 1. So if you hear
Radio 1?
Yeah.
Radio 1, yeah?
Yeah. And he's dressed as a woman.
And you have me on. Come on.
A ballet dancer.
That was a smashing evening, Annie. Despite bumping into Roger. Wasn't that weird?
He was absolutely legless.
Yeah?
Do you know, he told me earlier on he wasn't drinking quite so much. I wouldn't be surprised if he made one of his weepy phone calls.
Oh, God. How long do you think we should stay up?
Let's give him until 2 o'clock.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah?
Are you making a call, sir?
What's it to you?
You don't seem to be making a call, sir. From your breath, you appear to have been drinking.
You're going to breathalyse me for driving a telephone.
I'll be back this way shortly, sir. Don't want you to think you spend the night in this telephone box.
I've got a bloody home to go to.
Why don't you do that, sir? Go home.
I'm waiting for a telephone call here.
At 1:30 in the morning. I'll be back this way shortly. I trust you'll be gone by then.
Yes. Yes, Gayton Road. Telephone number? Right, we'll be there as soon as possible. Thank you. Hartley to 7823.
7823.
Report your position, 7823.
Checking lock-up properties halfway down Elvira Street, Sarge.
Go to the bottom, left, then first right. Report of sound of a window breaking at the back of shop. Eldon Parade Electrics, 14 Eldon Parade.
7823 will do, Sarge. Now, who are you and what are you doing here? Stay where you are. 7823 to Hartley. Burglar on the premises at Eldon Parade Electrics, and I've got mobile required. Do you want a description of the burglar, Sarge?
Not necessary, 7823.
Well, he's 6 feet 7 inches, a left-handed karate expert with a transistor in his right tuned to Radio 1. He's wearing women's clothes, Sarge. A very fetching net over taffeta two-piece and a kind of rose pink with black sequins and diamante. I think you described that as a ballet outfit, Sarge.
What the hell are you talking about? Women's clothes? Ballet outfits?
Shut up!
Yeah.
It's 2 o'clock and he's not phoned. Think I'm free of him.
Oh, good luck. I hope you're right. Just had Tom's car.
Oh, he's back?
Yeah. He wanted his cocoa and a sandwich. Would you like some?
No, thanks, not for me.
Never eats until he's ravenous, then eats everything inside.
I don't believe it.
Well, you knew I was coming.
Yeah, I don't believe how old you look.
Oh, get off.
Nice to see you, Annie. I haven't missed you, but the Nibs hasn't had a decent gossip in 4 years.
Not from him, certainly. Original man in the Iron Mask.
Hey, did you bring a Mountie back with you?
No, I didn't bring a Mountie back with me. They're big and boring, and I can find that here.
Yeah. I'll give us a kiss, dear.
Did you find the father of the kids?
Yeah, he's not a bad bloke. Just can't stand his wife, that's all. Not surprising. No, he says he'll come back next week.
Good.
Sort out his delinquents.
Good.
Do I smell excess alcohol on your breath, dearest? Hey! That was a full bottle of duty-free.
Let me explain.
I don't want explanations. It's grovelling apologies and promises to reform.
Shut up. Annie thought it best to see Roger today.
Did you?
Straight away. Well, I mean, sooner or later he'd have found out I was back.
So she talked to him lunchtime, then tonight we went to the Raglan Bar.
Oh, yeah?
For a meal, and he was there. He was at the bar. And he got as tanked up as he'll ever get. And we reckoned if ever he was going to make one of those drunken phone calls again, he'd do it tonight. He hasn't.
Well, that's good news, isn't it?
So we had a few drinks, waiting for it not to happen.
Well, just excuse me, I'll phone Roger just to tell him what his problems are costing me in hard liquor.
I told you. He's turned rotten mean since we got married.
Ah, yeah, you two ganging up on me already. Look, the reason I act mean is I'm always kept hungry. I haven't eaten a thing all day. I'm absolutely famished, Jean.
What do you want?
Cheese on toast.
Oh, you can do that yourself. I've got to get up early in the morning. I'm in court tomorrow.
Ah, thank you.
Oh, I'll get you some food, Tom.
No, Annie. No, you've been travelling. Lovely to see you. Even though you do look 50.
Ignore him.
Night, then, you two.
Good night.
Good night, love. Bring your toast up to bed. I'll take the cocoa.
Ah.
All stand in court.
Are there any applications? Mr. Elwood?
Your Worships, I have 2 applications.
Yes, Mr. Elwood?
Yes, Your Worships. The first application is for an extension of the permitted hours at the Beswick Tile Company Social Club for the evening of the 22nd of this month. It's the occasion of the annual presentation of the Safety at Work prizes, when the company awards a prize to the employee who has made the most valuable contribution to safe working in their factory. This is an annual event, and the usual letter has been submitted to the court. The application is for permitted hours to be extended from 10:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Have the police any objections, Inspector?
No objections, Your Worships.
Application granted until 11:30 p.m.
I'm obliged, Your Worships. My second application is for an extension of permitted hours at the Sportsman's Arms, Hartley, on the night of the 25th this month. The hours to be extended from 10:30 p.m. that night until 1 a.m. the following morning. Now, I appreciate, Your Worships, that this application is a little unusual. Perhaps I might explain. On that evening, Mr. Shipley is holding a party to celebrate his retirement. As Your Worships may well be aware, Mr. Shipley has recently completed over 30 years as a police officer, attaining the not insignificant rank of superintendent. Now, on the occasion of his retirement, he wishes to entertain his many friends and colleagues at a party. Some of his colleagues will be unable to leave their duty until 10 p.m., and will then have to travel a distance to reach the function. For this reason, to enable Mr. Shipley to say farewell in a sociable and proper manner to his colleagues, I am instructed to make this application. The usual letter has been submitted to the court, and if Your Worships wish, Mr. Shipley is available to give evidence in support of the application.
Inspector Darbley?
Your Worships, I am instructed to resist this application. As Your Worships may recall, I have objected to the extension of permitted hours at these licensed premises on previous occasions. Residents in the vicinity of the Sportsman's Arms have complained many times to the police during the last 3 months. Complaints allege excess noise, disorderly behaviour by customers leaving the premises, and inconsiderate parking of cars by patrons. I've also received written notice from solicitors representing a number of the residents that it is their intention, unless the situation improves dramatically, to oppose the issue of the licence of the Sportsman's Arms at the next licensing session. For these reasons, I'm instructed to object to the application which has been made.
We will retire to consider this application.
The court will rise. All stand in court.
Mr. Elwood, we've given this matter our most careful consideration. We would like to record our appreciation of Mr. Shipley's long and conscientious service with the police force, and for you to convey to him our very best wishes for a long and healthy retirement. We've listened to what Inspector Darbley has said about this application. We do sympathise with the people who live in the vicinity of the Sportsman's Arms, and with the police officers who have the unenviable job of trying to mediate between the parties involved. However, we feel that Should the problem continue, it may only be resolved by a decision of this bench. And it is not our intention today to anticipate that decision. Therefore, we feel we must refuse the extension of permitted hours.
As your worships please. Call the rise.
Well, Joseph, things are going to be a bit different from now on.
Yes, ma'am. I think we can all look forward to a future with Mr. Allen that's not exactly going to be a long round of laughs.
Come on, Joseph, back to the station.
Yes, ma'am.